The Village Market, located at 95 Main Street, Fairfield, is your small-town, fully stocked grocery store with that big store feel. Carrying quality vegetables, fruits, meats, deli items, and surefine products. They even have some inviting desserts. On your lunch break, stop by and grab one of the prepared, ready-to-go meals. Village Market's knowledgeable and courteous staff makes your visit an enjoyable experience. Visit them on Facebook and online at villagemarketfairfield.com. Open 7 days a week, the Village Market. We've got your groceries and more.
Hello. Hi, I'm Senator Scott Searway, and we're going to be talking about what's happening in Augusta at the state capitol. And also this will be a wrap-up of the program that Representative John Picciotti and myself have been presenting the last few weeks. And so he would like to be here today, but he had a tragic death in the family yesterday, so he would not be able to be here today. So I'm the person all by myself today, so it'll be interesting, but we'll have fun. So I just wanted to tell you that we've had a long 6 months, but it was very interesting, and I really want to say that I had a really interesting and great time and honored to do this job as a state senator. When I sat in the chair, I think was probably the most impressive time of the Senate floor, where I got to sit there and just admire all the individuals that are there and the ones that have been there in the past. It just, to me, it's a privilege and an honor, and also I wanted to thank my constituents for allowing me to have that chance. So I thank you. So I spent a lot of time working on issues. I was on the Veterans and Legal Affairs Committee, and I chaired the committee and worked a lot of hours on different projects. And some of the projects that was outside of my committee that I actually introduced a couple bills, and one was, I think that's pretty critical, is the Blue Alert law. And it's similar to Amber Alert. When we're talking about Blue Alert, it's basically an alert system that goes out and it broadcasts information that has to do with any law enforcement officer that's wounded, shot, killed, missing in action, any of those situations where it may include a suspect that they're trying to apprehend that might be out in the public, that just shot an officer that he said might be still on the loose. That situation would be where they would give all the information about the suspect, whereabouts they're headed or whatever, and it would go across the bottom of your screen on the broadcast system. And it would also be publicized in the paper and probably put on radio and even billboards wherever they're available, that type of thing. It's in 21 states currently, the Blue Alert system. And so I thought that would be very critical to be put in place here in Maine, especially with the times, the way things are progressing. And I think we've all seen where it seems like that police are being targeted more and more on whether it's being videotaped or whatever. And some of these situations, as you know, on videotaping, you only see aspects of it, and you don't know what really got to the point where it's brought up, where the case is kind of built up to where it took place. And it maybe look like it might be a brutality situation, but it might be also a situation where the person's been a problem and they had to subdue the person in a different way than what you would on a first stop type situation. So don't always judge a police officer by its cover. You want to know the full book. That's what I'm saying. So also that, so I'm proud that that went in through a unanimous decision, and it also went through unanimous in the House and the Senate, and as well as the governor signed it. So I'm pretty proud of that bill. Also, I tried to get in a funding for DARE. DARE is Drug Abuse Resistance Education, and I've been involved in that for 23 years. I'm also the DARE training coordinator for the state of Maine, and training other officers to be DARE officers. So I realize the importance, and if you've looked at the papers lately, drug is an issue, drug abuse. And so we're trying to combat that, and I figured, if we can get the word out, have officers in the schools that can explain to kids making good decisions to keep them from getting involved in drugs. DARE is not going to be the cure-all, but it's a piece that we can have to help kids understand the importance, but also have a good relationship with a police officer and earn the respect and know what how to handle situations. And I think that this is more critical than ever. So I think if we could have got the funding, it would have been a big help. Made some headway with the DARE program, and hopefully next session when I get a chance to put the bill in, we may be able to find funding for it, hopefully. There also is, I just noticed Office of Substance Abuse just got a big grant, so I'm going to try to look at that. So I am trying to get more help out there for our kids and families. Right now, the budget situation, we had to deal with it, and there was a lot of late nights and wrangling over the budget. Legislature passed the budget that would fund state government for the next 2 years. And so we're pretty proud of that. I think that the governor actually helped us form the budget. And lots of times you don't hear that in the news. You think that it's kind of negative all the time, but really there's a lot of positive things that came out of this budget. And I think that the governor actually did help us mold the budget into something that really helped the state. So kudos for the governor on that. And I know that not everybody agrees with everything he does. And certainly there's things that I didn't agree with him on, and there's things that I really do agree with him on. So I think that, and in any case, I think in any governor, it's been the same way for history. I can go down through the list and, there's things that, the governors have made decisions on that I didn't agree with, but also there were some good things that each one of them have done. So we vote them in because I think that they are good people and they do have their heart into making the state better. And that's what this is all about. And if you look at all the people here at the state, I was looking at the representatives, I look at the state senators, and there isn't one that I dislike. I think that they all seem to have good gifts of what their experience is and also what they can bring to the table. And they all have their heart into what they're there for. So I think we should be proud of having a diverse number of people to do the job. You go to some states and that you'll see where most of them are all lawyers. And whether that's good or bad, I would say that having a diverse group like we have, some are educators, some are farmers, some are real estate agents, some are um, engineers, some are financial accountants. You know, we have some law enforcement officers. We have a lawyer and the state senator, Roger Cates. He does a great job. And we all kind of feed off each other. I know Senator Cates has asked me a few questions on law enforcement, how it is, you know, in the field where he's not in that field. And it's a lot different than being defending, you know, the other people, and it's just different outlooks, and that's what makes it work really well. So I've been very impressed with the system, and I think that you know, the other part of this is the budget, the results of the months of the open hearings by committees. You know, talks between leaders and their caucuses in the Republican-controlled Senate and the Democrat-controlled House extended the debate and really made it work and come together. And so I'm pretty impressed with that. So 580,000 people just had their taxes go down because of this budget. So that's amazing. That's almost half of all the Mainers in Maine will have reduced taxes. Some pieces of the budget that I'm particularly excited about is, you know, there's a large increase for education, as well as an increase in funding for community colleges. I've worked with the youths of our community for decades, and keeping the kids in school is a crucial piece of making sure that they're safe, healthy, and productive. And I've watched many kids become adults, and I hope to continue doing so for a long time. And the facts are that there's no expansion of sales tax as the governor proposed. There's welfare reform, which we changed the formula that used to determine how much general assistance state funding gets in a municipality. In fact, just lately, Mary Isgro, Nick Isgro, he's a wonderful man, very personable and easy to talk to. He did veto the bill, and then managed to take the money that the state threw back to the community and actually put it to reduce taxes. So kudos for him. And you know, I'm hearing a lot of good positive feedback on taking that money and directly putting it back to the taxpayer. I think it's great. And also, the change was to a flat 70% reimbursement rate to all communities. And before, the old formula incentivized places like Portland to give out more money because their reimbursement rate would go up. And now, and as they gave out more money, they just keep getting more money. So, you know, it wasn't helping the small towns, and it wasn't helping the little towns like Fairfield or Benton or even Waterville. It was helping the big cities. And so this flat reimbursement is going to make a big difference. I'm also proud to be serving my district as state senate, but I work with folks who are truly serving in Augusta to make the lives of their constituents better. And Representative Picciotti, I just wanted to mention, is certainly one of those. Him and I work closely together, and I get a lot of good information from him. Him being an insurance agent, he had a lot of good experience. And I used to be in insurance as well with New York Life years ago. And so I've been in real estate. So I have a little experience to draw from that, but I also really enjoy working with John. He's got some very good experience, and and he's really caring about the people in this area. So lots of important work was done, and we actually worked on over 1,400 bills this year that was considered with the legislature this session. And to do 1,400 bills, we have to listen to every one of them. We have to go. We meet with our caucuses, which is our group of, like, for example, the state senators will have their Republican caucus, and we'll go over every bill and discuss them, and then find out who feels about what. And it's really important because you can put your input in, and people listen. And then when you get done there, when you go back into the session, you get to voice your opinion again if you feel strongly about it. And if someone from the other side says something and you disagree or you agree, you can give that opinion, and it really makes a difference when it comes to the vote. And so I've seen some really good things happen. You know, I can tell you that there's been some strong emotions sometimes in these battles when it comes to, for example, you know, me being in law enforcement, there was one particular that I can remember. It was the Fourth Amendment right for law enforcement officers to be able to get information, federal information on criminal activity. And they wanted to take that away from us, and as law enforcement officers, to do our job. And I had given an example of a particular personal situation that happened to me and my family, and it made a difference. We killed that bill because if you don't have that information, we can't do our job. We can't convict that person. We really need the information. And so you know, we're seeing a lot of these bills come through, mainly from Colorado, because they're trying to legalize marijuana here in Maine. And I was just down in Lewiston the other day, and you know, it's funny how they tell you that law enforcement officers shouldn't stereotype people. Well, the thing is I was in one of the harder area parts of Lewiston, or one of the tougher areas, and what do? They got a petition guy trying to get marijuana signatures there. So they stereotype their own people. They don't go where, you know, downtown. They go in the harder areas to get the signatures. So this is what we're going to be dealing with. And so I'm hoping that everybody keeps their eyes open when it comes to legalizing marijuana, because marijuana is just a gateway drug, and it will affect our communities. It takes about 8 points off your IQ on an average user, not to mention what other effects it has. Certainly, there are some of the ingredients in marijuana that will help in some cases on really ill patients, but there is no FDA proof, and there's no FDA information that says marijuana is going to help. And one joint is equal to 16 cigarettes. So you can imagine how harmful that is. So when a person smokes a joint and they hold it in their system, they're giving themselves a small heart attack. They're having a little defibrillation when they say, oh, that was a good hit, Dan, and they feel this tightening of the chest. That's what's happening. So just be realized that we are working towards helping the community making good decisions, but there's a lot of people out there trying to legalize marijuana. There's billionaires that are pushing money out there for organizations, and all they do is push until they get what they want. Because when you talk about drugs, there's big money behind it. So just, I hope that people can try to think about their children and about our future children in our communities. And we want people to work. We don't want people to be dependent on our society to house them in jails, house them in mental institutions, be in hospitals, and not be functional. So it's really important. Other things I'd like to talk about is when I was on Veterans and Legal Affairs, I deal with several things. The election laws. We tried to get in a situation where the two districts, there would be Maine would be divided into two districts, and the signatures, you would have to have 10% of the governor vote from the previous gubernatorial election to get a new bill in to be brought on forward for the constituents to vote on for a statewide referendum. So we tried to get that in. It got passed until it got to the House. The Democrats voted it down, but I felt that it was it went through our Veterans and Legal Affairs, and we got it through to the Senate, and it passed through the Senate, but when it got to the House, it died. So we did try to bring it back, and hopefully we will get it back and get to deal with it again. I think it would be a fair way to get the signatures, because it's very similar to Oregon. If you think of Oregon, all the towns voted against the marijuana bill, except for their one city is what actually won them to have marijuana legalized. And that's not fair to the states. That's what I feel. So I think this splitting the district by population in two would have gave a much more fair way to get these referendums through. It's kind of like the bear baiting, for example. Certainly Portland probably wouldn't have as much interest in bear baiting as it would be up north, where people actually do bear baiting. So it would make things a little more fair for our state. So, and then also in liquor, Louis Lucchini, who is the representative from Ellsworth, he was my co-chair for Veterans and Legal Affairs. And him and I felt the very same about alcohol. Alcohol is basically powdered alcohol. And so we really felt that if alcohol came into the state, that it would actually be very vulnerable for our kids to get. And they could actually mix it with any drink or, snort it, all kinds of different things. It looks very similar to the powder of Crystal Light. You just mix it into a drink and you'd have alcohol. So we banned that. We put a bill in to ban it, and it worked. We banned it. So I think that was I was the co-sponsor, and he was the sponsor of that. And then another bill that was sponsored was Keno. When I first went into Veterans and Legal Affairs, certainly I was new, and I sat down and I spoke with BABLO, which is a lottery commission. They kind of govern that. And there was apparently that they felt that the lottery commission had full authority not to put a bill in to put Keno operations in. They thought it was very similar to lottery, which there is a difference. Keno, they have to take 10 numbers, you pick, and there's like 80 total numbers. And then out of that 10 numbers, you pick them and you have to wait about 4 minutes, and there'll be a big screen like a TV, and they wait until they get the answer, and then once they would get the answer if they want or not, then they would get whatever they want. Well, the problem with that is that this could have gone into they want 150 locations to begin with, and then expand that to 300 locations throughout the state. And that would have been right up from the coast, right up through northern Maine. And you don't know what store it would have been in. It could have been Kmart, Walmart, could have been little stores, and they make a little Keno room. All they have to do is apply for a license for it and make a Keno room. And there was no restrictions of having children in it or anything. So, it could have been a situation where it's saying, geez, they may have your son there, and you say, hey, Dad, is it time to go yet? He'd be waiting there for his dad, or picking the numbers. He may even have his kid picking the numbers. So to me, this is just training our kids to gamble, and certainly it's not a family environment that we want. I understand about casinos. We also deal with that. At least that's a controlled environment. And if they choose to take that and have a good time, so be it. It's up to the person. But for us to have it in every store, I just felt that was just going to drain the monies that need to go to the families. And certainly, you're not going to see the people that have the money. They're not going to be in those rooms. It's going to be people that don't have the money spending, and we don't want to see people. I've even talked to people at casinos. Some of the enforcement officers. It's amazing how many people spend thousands and thousands of dollars, and some will be in debt. $150,000, and it's really sad. So, but it's a choice, and if you want to make it a sport, it can be fun, but do it responsibly. I guess that's the main thing. Other things that we've done is the casinos. They wanted to. We had 2 casino bills. One was a committee bill that we put for the tribal committees for a tribal casino. It was going to be allowed for the tribes to negotiate and try to put a bid in, and it could have been from 2 to up to 4 tribes that could have been involved in it. It did go through committee and got passed, but we wanted it to go through the Senate and the House to see what they thought, and it may have gone to referendum, but it failed. But at least that, we got it out of committee to give them a chance. And then also we did a casino bill. They wanted a southern casino, and so we passed that, but we also took like maybe 10 other bills and got rid of all of them, made one good bill that had a cascade and everything of where the money was going to go. And we really looked to help the harness racing and try to help the the horsemanship races for the fairs, agriculture. I think that was mostly my thought, is that let's try to keep agriculture going. And so we got it out of committee as well, and that also got voted down, but it has been sent back to our committee to handle next year. So this January we'll be working on that again. And so if there's any constituents that have some advice or want to put information what you think would make it better, or maybe you feel we shouldn't even have another casino, that's fine. We are open to all suggestions. But when we put these things out of committee and we put them to the Senate and to the House, it's because we really feel that we want to give these type opportunities a chance. And it's not because we're for or against it. It's more trying to help the system work and give a fair chance for business and also for the people that do want a livelihood in agriculture or the casinos and as bringing work in and business. So, another one is we had significantly decreased the in a couple of other areas, we decreased the estate tax burden on family farms and businesses. And we needed to protect our farm families. Agriculture is a way of life and is the main heritage. And I'm focused on making sure that we stay true to our heritage. I grew up on a farm myself. 80-acre vegetable farm and 110 head of cattle. We had over 1,000 acres, and I worked hard. I used to get up 3 o'clock every morning before I went to school. So I understand what farmers do and hard work is, but they take pride in what they do. And it's a tradition. Actually, I lived in Benton, and Benton and Clinton was probably the #1 populated farm area for cattle for many, many years in Maine. And so, I grew up around the Floods and the Cavaliers and the Wrights and the Merton Richards, all these farms that was in the area. And so you kind of work together and try to help each other. And so it's when you're talking about farm families, you're talking about not just your farm, but you're talking about the farms in the area that you all get to know. They all work together to help each other out. I can remember, even thunderstorms, when you lose power, somebody else will bring a generator to help each other out. So it's that kind of work. So I'd like to keep the heritage going, and I actually got my degree in agriculture. And it's really try to promote agriculture in any way I can. We also we exempted military pensions from income taxes, so young veterans are exactly the folks that we want to attract and keep in our great state of Maine. So, we exempted their pensions and from the income taxes, and I think that that's a big move for helping them that take their life for a short period of time. It seems like a long period of time when you're talking 4 to 8 years or maybe a career. And when they do take their time and defend our country, we should show appreciation, and that's one way we're doing it. So I appreciate the military patronage that we have and what they do out there to fight for our country and our freedoms. So, and also we increased the funding for nursing homes. They have section 18 for brain injury wait lists, increased fundings on for 3 to 4% on other parts of the nursing home administrations, and increased funding for section 21 in intellectual disabilities on their wait list. And also we've had a lot of interesting bills that came about that had to do with trying to increase money on other avenues, but we tried to hold the line because, whenever you put a bill in, it costs money. And so we try not to pass too many bills, because if you pass them all, it would cost us a fortune. So we did manage to control our spending. I think we all work together. But in the end, we only had a few bills left, and they had gone to the governor's office, and he had to make a decision. And I'm sure it wasn't an easy decision for the governor. I know that the papers say, you know, he held them over and all this, but he did it for a reason. But there are 65 bills that still that he's vetoed, and the legislature has not taken them up because they were returned to us outside the generally accepted 10-day window, and is now in the hands of the courts. So we will have to wait and see how that is all resolved in the third branch of government, which is we have legislative, executive, and then judicial branch. So now we've got the judicial branch taking care of this situation where we got to have a decision made. So certainly there's a debate whether when we said adjourned, if that meant adjourned in the governor's eyes, or if it was recessed, because we did say what date we were going to come back, which was July 16th, and if it was considered a recess. So either way, it's going to be discussed by the judges and lawyers, and hopefully we'll get an answer by Monday or Tuesday. And that's what we're hoping. And if we have to go back, we'll go back and take care of them. Certainly, I think there are some good bills in there that we should take a look at. One certainly is very important, is the county government one for county jails. That's very important. There was a decision made that the governor said, we don't want the state and county working together on trying to balance this budget. We either have county or state take it over, one or the other, but not do both. So the decision was to put it back in the county hands. And so that's what we was working at, and trying to come up with a way to kind of like have a soft landing so that the county could take it back, because it was kind of like, 50-50. The county was putting money from the county budgets, but also the state was throwing in quite a bit of money, but the controls were kind of confused. I guess the committee that was formed for Department of Corrections and for county personnel, some would show up, some wouldn't. So there was some confusion on how that was going to all work out. And some agreed and some didn't agree. So it's better to be one way or the other from what it looks. So the Sheriff's Association worked hard, working with the state, trying to come up with an answer. And they did come up with somewhat of an answer, and now it's one of these bills that was kind of like held in limbo. So hopefully this will get resolved and we'll be able to take care of that. And also the welfare reform bill for illegal aliens, immigrants. We're hoping to get and take a look at that again. So there are some bills out there that are very important. And also, I think that the bond issue that the governor held, Senator Roger Cates tried to put a bill in to release those bonds within a 5-year period, and I think it was very commendable, and the job that Roger Cates, Senator Cates, has been working on. And but also I think that if we can get this bond issue taken care of, it should be. Well, trying to think of the way I'd like to end this program is basically let you know that in the legislature and in the Senate floor, I've got to speak a few times, well, quite a few times, and express my feelings about certain bills and how they affect our communities. And I think that it's an honor, and also I take pride and try to work the best I can for you. And I think that this is all about Maine, trying to make it a nice area for people to want to be here and stay here, and also to be able to live comfortably. And that's what we want. And we've got a beautiful state. Let's all work together to keep it going. And thank you, and best wishes and condolences for Representative John Pichatti. Sorry he couldn't be here. And he says they'd love to be here, and he enjoys his job as well. And thank you for both of us. Thanks.